Hey guys, and welcome to the Garage Athlete Show. We are on episode 50. It's a big number, that isn't it? 50. I'm joined tonight by the one and only Daniel Fraser. It's the original, the two amigos back again.
Oh geez,
we clawed him away from his gym session.
I think Rachel's busy looking at spines and hips and becoming the most knowledgeable trainer I know.
Definitely, 100%. So yeah, good to have you back, mate. I can see you sat the garage door open, enjoying some of the sunshine.
Well, it's freaking heaven at the moment. Like, I don't know if it's vitamin D or it's just the weather, but fuck me, so much happier when it's like this. Just just so nice. Like, I mean, in Newcastle, it's like, I think it's like been 21-ish degrees all day, maybe a bit more. But it's just been like brilliant, and it makes me realise when I'm older, I'm going to buy a caravan in Benidorm and retire there and drink pints for €1.
Have you? I was going to say, have you seen? What's it called? Where it basically follows like people that move out to Spain and stuff. And
are you referring to Bargain, Love and Brits in the Sun?
That's the one.
Hey, it is the best show I've ever watched. I cannot stand it. I'm like, any chance, if I'm like kind of like with the kids, just sort of feeding them, I'm like, just watch another one. I'm now like 2.5 seasons in. I can't stop watching it. I'm obsessed. It's just like complete like trash TV, but I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love it. Like,
the kids love that. Nightmare Tenants and Slum Landlords. What's the one where they Don't Tell the Bride? And then there's another one when, as you said, it's just this trash TV, and it's just like, it's one of those things that you can sit there and watch and just when there's nothing else on and you don't have to think about it. It's not too serious. You don't get hooked into series of it. Like, it's just great.
But you've got to watch 90 Day Fiance as well. That's another
90 Day Fiance.
It's so trash, but it's just fantastic. Another one is Married at First Sight Australia. It's like obscene. It's so bad, but I cannot stop watching these things, man. Like, I think lockdown is just, I never really watched all that shit, and then lockdown happened, and now I like watch it all the time.
Yeah, you got through all the stuff you actually needed to catch up on watching, and then you're like, oh, okay. They're not actually making anything new. I need to find some shit.
Mate, Bargain, Love and Brits in the Sun is just it's outstanding. But I need to catch up to when we get up to the last couple of years and see how they're getting on. I need to know, actually. I need to get through all the episodes as quickly as I can so I can get to that point.
Well, for me and the missus, it's Gogglebox at the moment. Like, that's hilarious. Like,
and my parents love Gogglebox. But that
TV how are you anyways? How's training going?
Well, it's really hit and miss, man. Like, I've just found my energy levels are they're like this, and it's got to the point. The last couple of weeks, I've only trained like once a week because like just life's happening. And then I was like, I was having some really good sessions. Like, my squat is going quite well. Like, I think I'm getting around, you know, when you just start getting around to weights you haven't handled for that many reps and sets, you're like, something's cooking here. But it's a real kind of like at the moment I'm self-coached, and it's a very fine line between your chimp brain and your logic brain. So as a coach, I find it's something I can do quite well for my clients, to take emotion out of it, and I can just go, do this, do that, don't do that, don't worry about it, move on. Whereas I'm struggling with myself a little bit at the moment, a bit like, oh God, I'll try this now, I really want to do that. I'm not feeling, I'll push, or maybe that was right, maybe that's not. So it's kind of like, before I was having 2 weeks of good work and 1 week of terrible work, but I've managed to improve that. So I now get 3 weeks of solid work and 1 week of shit work. So, for example, what I normally do at the moment is I do very simple, an 8s wave, an 8s block, a 5s block, and then I'm going to go into a trebles block. So pushing quite hard. So the idea of this block of 5s is to get up to around 80% of 280. For around 3 to 4 sets of 5. I normally find if I can sort of get those numbers ticking in, I'm in a good place. So last week I did 77.5%, which is 217.5 kilos. It was tough, but I got through it, and it was all right. It wasn't too bad. So I did that 4 sets. So this week, it was going to be next week, but I got excited and I was like, fuck it, I'll just try it. And then, of course, it didn't work. So I did it for a set of 3, 225 kilos, well, is around about 80% of 280. So I was like, I did a set of 3. I could have done 5, but it would have been an RP 10. I was like, not feeling it. But the moment I finished it, I was talking to you and Rachel at the same time about there's some other group stuff we're doing. And I sat down, I'm not kidding, I couldn't get up for about 20, 30 minutes. And it wasn't just pure laziness. I was just sat there like completely wiped out. And I think stress doesn't always manifest itself in just, oh, I feel really worked up, my anxiety levels are high. It gets you in different ways. And for me, it's my performance when I get under the barbell. When I had one kid, when I was, just me and Mads, when I had no worries, I could go balls to the wall for fucking ages. I would do that 4 sets of 5, then do another 3 to 4 sets of leg presses, then do another 3 to 4 sets of something hamstring, then do something else, and I could keep going. Whereas I'm finding now, I get to that and I'm like, I'm cooked. But then it was like, I have to be very on top of what I want to do. I mean, I kind of go between RPE and percentage based quite a lot. I do love an RPE single and an RPE top set. At the moment, I've just gone back to getting some volume working because I find this in my own training. I kind of take a little while to get going. So first set feels okay. Second set normally feels better. Third set I'm normally awake, and then fourth set like I want to kill myself. But I've always found good results from just sort of standard volume work. There is a time I think when it comes closer to competition and some phase potentiation when you want to see what you've done, that I think that really high end top set is fucking brilliant, and I do think it's the way to go. But at the moment I'm just enjoying getting in the volume work in. So I'm gonna have another crack next week, because the last time I did it was so random. I think I did 210 for a set of 3 at the last block, and that was a max set. I couldn't have done any more. Absolutely freaking ruined me. And then like a week later, 2 weeks later, I did it for 5 sets of 5. And it's just like, this is how ridiculous my body is at the moment. So I'm gonna have another crack at 225 next week, and then I'll know where I'm standing. So yeah, just trying to work it out. But then I'm doing bits and pieces of our training group at the moment. I'm just trying to throw in a bit of that in there, doing some supersets, which I haven't done for a while, cleared things around in the garage. So cracking in some min upper body sessions, getting some extra calorie burn as well by supersetting. So enjoying that side of things, getting my heart rate up with some big push-pull supersets, arm supersets, that kind of stuff. Nothing too crazy, but got effective. So yeah, that's me, man. How are you?
I think, as you said, like for yourself, it's getting in some stuff that you enjoy, just moving, just like you don't really have anything that you're like training towards at the moment. So you don't want to ruin yourself. As you said, when your recoverability is probably not where it needs to be, just because of being a dad, like it's not the ideal situation.
Have you seen that Family Guy when he's like, until you're a father, you don't know. Until you have a son, and it's just like, oh god, with those guys. But no, I tramp that one. Until you are a twin parent or a parent of multiples, then you do not know. But it's fucking hard. Like it's hard, man. But I mean, I think what Willow's at that age where she's kind of getting more of a routine. She's still not quite 4, right? So she's probably still getting up in the night and all that kind of stuff.
So she's 3 next month. She's 3 in a month actually. 9th of July. So she stopped now. Before, when she'd wake up, she'd cry and I'd have to walk through to get her.
Yep.
Whereas now she wakes up, gets herself out of bed. So our bedroom is across the hallway to hers. So she just runs into our bedroom and then jumps on me. But we got one of those baby monitors where it's got like a heart rate monitor. So it's got like a motion detector. And basically, if the baby stops moving for 30 seconds, an alarm goes off. Natalie refuses not to have that on. So now the baby wakes up, she runs into me, jumps on me, and this frigging alarm is going off because the 30-second motion sensor's gone off. So then I have to get out of bed, go turn the alarm off to then go get back into bed. I've tried to have this discussion that we don't need the motion sensor on anymore. But yeah, I'm just beating my head up against the wall with that. I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna let it slide, because basically I said that we should turn that off. Then she said, no, I want it on. It's like, okay, will you get up to turn off the alarm then? She was like, yeah, that's fine. For the first 2 nights, she did it. Now she pulls the baby off me, so the baby's laid on her. So then, you've got to go turn the alarm off. Every time they outsmart us. But yeah, to answer your question about training for me. It's one of those where I'm getting towards the back end of that nice period of prep. Like I'm dropping probably a half a kilo a week again. So I'm down to my lowest weight so far has been like 76.5 kilos. So I've probably got another 4 or 5 to come off, depending on how lean I end up going. So the hunger's starting to kick in now, especially at night. Like just before I go to bed, I'm starting to feel hungry. I'm starting to feel a bit lethargic. Like some days I'm not fully recovering when it's like high stress and stuff like that. I'm finding that it's taken a few more days to kind of like recover. So I'm having to auto-regulate a little bit in terms of that. Sometimes I'm having to take an extra rest day, move my cardio and stuff around. So it's getting to the tougher part. So when I'm coaching people through fat loss, like this first half is what I will take people to, taking people to that somewhere between 10 to 12%, where it's a little bit uncomfortable, but it's manageable. You look good with your shirt off and your hormones aren't getting played with. As soon as you start dropping below 10%, the body really kind of doesn't want to go there and it's going to fight you every step of the way. And people think like when you look at and people like show you physiques they want to aspire to be towards, and they're like these fitness models that look like they're at like 6-7% body fat. I'm looking at those and going, I know what it takes to get there, and you do not want to go there. Like you do not want to put yourself through that because it's brutal. But yeah, everybody still wants to be shredded and have abs and be able to take their shirt off at the beach. So we could take it.
You know, a good point there. Like, I think most of the people I work with kind of just want to feel good and look good, but at the same time, like, I just kind of want to look like an out of season bodybuilder, which is still really fucking lean and full and not that shredded kind of thing. But like that would be a huge win for me if I could get to that, like a, you know, visible abs, you know, that kind of stuff. I don't necessarily want to be absolutely shredded, but like just I think what good girls get is just lean enough, comfortable in your own skin and feel good in a t-shirt and not have like get to the point where you can kind of wear what you want without that feeling of, well, I'm not quite sure. Like I'm at a sort of size now where I'm like certain things I don't want to wear and I feel a bit self-conscious about it. Whereas when I've been, you know, leaner, lighter, there's been, you know, I could have a literal spray on. I'm like, I feel fine. Whereas at the moment, I'm kind of at that sort of place where I'm like certain things I like totally fine. But there's other things I'm like, I don't, you know, you kind of stretch it a bit and pull it out and things. And I just kind of want to get rid of that. But then a lot of the clients I work with, they kind of, when they get to that point where they're realizing they're not mucking around their clothes anymore and fitness stuff, they suddenly feel like really, really good. Yeah. I think, you know, there's nothing, you know, wrong with not wanting to be completely shredded out of your mind.
No.
But getting in really good shape, almost like, you know, like an athlete style, like still really lean, but not, you know, striated glutes. Because that's hard. But a lot of the time,
well, I was looking back at my photos from November 2019, because the feedback that I got at the time was I needed to be drier, which basically means more body fat off me. And I was looking at my photos, I'm like, I've got freaking striated glutes. Like, I don't know how much drier I could get. And like, getting that feedback at the time, and then it's probably one of the things that forced me to then, well, made me overeat. Because I was like, I'm fat. And it was just like, I'm so glad that I've had a coach that's essentially let me get fat this off season. So I probably got up to like 22% body fat. Like it's the heaviest I've ever been. 83.5 kilos, the heaviest I've ever been. But as I'm dieting down now, I'm starting to, my shoulders, that line, that bit of muscle that's there, that wasn't there before. And like my traps and just the thickness. And it's only, and this is the thing with bodybuilding, like you've got to trust the process when you're in that fluffy stage, because you can't see it. Like I can't see that I was getting physically bigger until now. As I'm pulling the body fat off, I'm going, oh, okay, so things have actually changed. I've done something good with this off season. And I mean, I'm like, the federation that I'm going to be competing in changed how they do their classes from weight classes to height classes. So before I had to diet down to under 70 kilos no matter what, whereas now it's up to and including 170 centimeters is the smallest class, and I am bang on 170 centimeters. I was worried I was going to have to go into the middleweight class, but I get to stay in the short person class. It's the only time I've ever been happy that I'm short, because I would not be able to compete. That next class up, everyone's a good 5-6 kilos heavier than I will be.
So fuck, where would I be at 6'3"? I'd be with some big guys, right?
You'd be in the tall class, yeah.
Yeah, you won't see me on stage. But oh shit, you're a screamer. You're the screamer though, aren't you? Yeah, that'd be fun.
How tall screamer? 5'7"?
I think remember he was literally like 5. I think he was 5'6", 5'6.5", maybe.
Yeah, I'm not going to be competing against screamer. So yeah, he'll be in the same class as me, weighing in at like 90 kilos of stage weight. Like literally, if he competes in the short, which he will at the UKD FBA, he'll absolutely wipe the floor with him, because everybody else will be around 17 to 75 kilos maximum, I reckon. I wonder if they just change the rules back just for him. He has to go and compete with the heavyweights.
Amazing, yeah. But I think you've hit a good point on there. The importance of growing muscle, and especially for guys. I mean, this is where I think sometimes strength athletes that transition into bodybuilding do all right, because they haven't really been, not necessarily that the training is more bodybuilding based, but the fact that they haven't been potentially dieting, that they have a good amount of muscle to work with. So yeah, they might be fluffy, but when they come down, they end up looking pretty decent. Whereas a lot of the kids I see, they're kind of like
time in deficit.
Yeah, they spend too much time cutting. So the other thing is, they kind of look good for YouTube, but if you ever saw these people in person, you would not know that they're a bodybuilder, fitness model, or anything like that, because it's almost like I think, what's his name? Eric Helms is like being a natty bodybuilder is like being a natty bodybuilder is looking mint on stage, but no one would know you're a bodybuilder if you wore a t-shirt. It's just it's just a sort of certain thing they have. But this, I think with the knowledge of some good coaches out there are some young kids now realizing the importance of gaining mass. Like, it was refreshing hearing Screamer talk about, I'm going to spend the next couple of years gaining muscle. And this is a guy who's already, got world records and has fucking tree trunks and a massive barrel chest, etc. But he's already now needs to get muscle. And it's like, fuck, if he's getting muscle and you think you need to diet down and be competitive, I think you've got to rethink your priorities, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's it's going to be. Well, I say it's going to be fun. This is probably the most fun I've had dieting so far. I've been dieting for 12 weeks now, and it doesn't. I've dieted how I teach, which is like flexible dieting. So my breakfast is meal 1 is set, meal 2 is set, meal 3 is set. 4 is flexible, so my evening meal, and then I have something right before I go to bed, which is pretty set. So I wouldn't advise my clients doing that, but it just means that I can eat my evening meal with my family. I just have to weigh everything. Like, everything else, it's just like it's already taken care of. I just prep all my meals. I don't have to think. And I think that's been the main thing. I think when I did it last time, because I wasn't being flexible in the evening at all, it was then stressing me out because I was having to overthink everything. Whereas now it's like, no, 90% of it's set, but I can be flexible. I can still have food with my family, and me and Jake have just been talking throughout. So it's one of the benefits of having coaches is I can speak to him as a coach and go, look, this is what works for me. I've done this a number of times now. And he'll go, yeah, that's fine, because he knows that I'm meticulous enough that I'll go and weigh exactly out my rice. I'll go and weigh exactly out the chicken that's coming out of the curry or whatever she's made, and I'll account an extra 10% calories for whatever sauce it's in. Like, the average person won't tend to do that because they're not as anal about it, but that's part of being a bodybuilder, unfortunately. Like, you have to be a stickler for the numbers.
You have to, and I think this is where we go back to, if you want to get really lean, train hard, track your calories, or you don't have to track your calories, but just be very mindful of what you're eating and keep on top of it. You want to be a bodybuilder, you're going to have to weigh, measure, go down to the, the little minutiae of things. But, you're trying to build a physique to go on stage, not just, look good with your shirt off.
Yeah.
It's, they're two different things, yeah. And I mean, but you can still get to an incredible level of leanness without, doing the stuff you're doing. But
100%.
you want to get on stage, look freaking awesome, have pride in what you've done. I think sometimes you take, as an athlete, whether you're a bodybuilder, powerlifter, rugby player, you might take pride in doing those little things that other people want to do that don't want to do. Fuck it, if that makes you feel good and you're not, not being a dick about it, I'm all for it. I'd rather people get really what do you call it? Into their training and dieting and that kind of stuff instead of shoving stuff up their nose and getting pissed all the time. Like, why not transfer over to that?
I was going to say there's a lot worse addictions out there that harm others. The only person that it's not even going to harm, the only person it affects really is me and maybe my family, but I try to mitigate those effects as much as possible, just because those last few weeks of dieting, I'm just an awful human to be around. So if I can try to be the best.
The last bit's tough though, isn't it?
Man? Yeah. It's one of those things. It's just managing things and being clear and having a good support network, and try to not be too much of a dick. And when you do, just hold your hands up and go, sorry, I'm really hungry. I'll go for a walk. I'll go walk the dog. At least I can get out of the house now. Last year I didn't have that. Like the last time
I mean, it is hard, whether it being having the partner of an athlete, whether your wife is a triathlete or remember we spoke to Bish, he said his girlfriend's really into I think triathlons, or she's an endurance athlete, I think, and he's fucking Britain's strongest man, for fuck's sake. They have a very understanding relationship and it kind of just works for them, but at the same time he is right at the top and he's like absolutely crushing it, so he can kind of almost I wouldn't say get away with it, it's necessary and it's what he does, but I think with what we do, we've got a lot of other shit going on, like a lot, but we're kind of good. I would say we're good, maybe it sounds like you're good 95% of the time, but you might have that 5% where it's like, who touched my chicken breast? I weighed that out. Like your mother-in-law could come around and eat some of your prepared chicken. That would be half leather, right? But things like that. But I think it's right. I think it's important to put your hands up and maybe say when you've maybe gone too far. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I've been a freshman rugby player. I've no doubt if I was still playing, I would. If I wasn't injured, I'd still be doing it. And I think knowing what I've achieved in the gym outside of it, my potential was very, very raw still when I was playing. So I think I would have done all right. But I was the professional athlete. I was like, we're moving to the side of the country. Oh, that's it. It wasn't even, I've got to consider this. It was just, well, I'm doing that because that's what I do. But then, it's flipping, my athlete status is probably, in the pecking order, it couldn't be any lower. It's right at the very bottom, even though it feels like it's still really important. And it's been hard to transition sometimes from that to that, from being a pro to still having the sort of the pro way of doing things, but realizing you're not a pro.
I say that mindset doesn't, like, once you've established that mindset, it must be very, very hard to then, because you've got those habits, you've got those things formed in how you think is at the level of a professional. However, in terms of the importance of it in the hierarchy of your needs, it's not up there, as you said. Like, you've got so many other things and you just must be constantly like battling against that desire and that drive to do what you want, but then you've got to be thinking, right, okay, I've got to put X, Y, Z in front of that as well.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Sorry, I'm zoned out a little bit there. What were you saying?
I was just saying about when you're a professional athlete, like the psychology of it, that gets built into you. Like that isn't going to go anywhere because that's been hammered into you since you were academy. So
yeah, no, absolutely, it doesn't go anywhere. I think, like, even then when you just talk, the reason I zoned out, mate, is because it's hard. Like I do still get emotional about it. Like, my career stopped, so I could see it coming, but it still felt very sudden. It felt like I I just signed my first big time contract. The money was all right, but it wasn't, what these guys are in. But it was my first full professional premier. And then within the year, it was gone. And it's still something now. Like when I talk to people about it, I used to when I first retired, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm fine, it's all good, blah, blah, blah. Whereas even now, I'm like, I'm still very bitter about it. I still really struggle, if I'm honest. I really struggle still. I mean, I'm not in the place I was like when I first finished playing rugby. Fuck, I was suicidal, mate. Like it was really bad. Like you sort of go from identifying as this player to having nothing. It'd be like you almost like identifying yourself as this, bodybuilder, and then all of a sudden you tear off all your fucking biceps and you've smashed your back and you'll never have symmetry on stage. So basically you can't compete. It's over. It's just like, it's really hard. It's been really hard. And even now, mate, like before we sort of came on, I've seen there's some amazing players who are sort of getting England call-ups, which is fucking brilliant. I'm chuffed for them. Like, I really am. But at the same time, you can't help but look at yourself and think, oh, fuck, who knew? Like, if I just sort of kept around, you never know, mate. Like, I mean, you just never know. Being the right age at the right time with the right thing, with the right stuff going on, you could have got a call up. And it's just like, oh, this is where this doesn't help your mental state. But I think from what I've done in the past with therapy and stuff, it's almost like you learn that it's all part of it and you feel it, and you kind of, what I try to do now is I feel it, acknowledge it, maybe you feel sad for a bit and then move on. I've had a brilliant
rather
day
than repressing it.
But it still feels as raw as ever. Like I'm still not over it, never will be. But I think that's why
you hear about it, regardless of when you retire, like a lot of professional athletes go through that exact same thing. It's a state of mourning at the end of the day. Like, as you said, you've lost your identity. Like, as a pro, you probably played rugby since you were what, like 5 or 6?
I think I started 6 or so.
Yeah, 6 years old to what? 20? Do you say you played till you were like 24, 25?
23. I retired. 23.
23. So 20 years of doing something, pretty much. Like that's and also they're in those formative years when you are forming that image of yourself. It's not like something you've got into later in life. It's you literally grew up, you went through your childhood, teenage years, while you were creating who you are, would have been very much tied to that. You were always the rugby player. To then have that suddenly be taken away, like, I can't imagine how hard that must have been, mate.
It was shit. In some ways, like, it's been very good for me in terms of I was very immature as a rugby player, and I think you're very much in this very closed, unique world which doesn't really exist outside of rugby, if I'm honest. And it's very un-PC, and it's very,
sorry, just bringing back memories.
Mate, I've just been sent a couple of videos of rugby dudes at the clubs, and I'm like, that's not normal behaviour.
But like, why are they all naked?
A couple of them. But like, it's just like it's not the norm, and it's not this world. But I guess I don't know. Maybe I felt like the world owed me something, if I'm honest. Like maybe it was an arrogance thing. Like when I finished, I always thought, there's going to be some, the lads club will sort me out, or some give me a job, and I'll be all right. And it was just like, you go from earning pretty decent money to, £6 an hour in a local cafe, and you're like, oh, okay, this magic boys club doesn't exist for me, and I now don't talk to any of my old friends, and the thing I've been striving towards is gone, and I was an idiot and didn't do anything else. I'm like, okay, maybe the world doesn't know me. And it was just a big wake up call. But even for like the emotional intelligence side of things, like I got in, I wouldn't say trouble, just I think I wanted more society and stuff to fit to me than me fit into it. Like I still had this sort of bravado and arrogance that I don't think helped me at all. And then when I've stepped, now I'm a father and grown up, all that bollocks, you're like, okay, well, I get it a bit, but I'm still, I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm self-employed, because I'm a fucking terrible employer. I just, if you tell me what to do, I'm going to tell you to piss off, that kind of stuff. But I think from finishing, it definitely taught me a thing or two, and it made me realize how young you are when you finish playing rugby. Like, I used to think the guys who were like late 20s, like late 20s, 29s to 32s were like the oldest kids going, and it's like, fuck, your life hasn't even fucking started, man. Like, I'm 33 now. Oh, that freaked me out the other day. I only worked out I was 33 and I thought I was 32, so that was a bit of a kick in the dick. I'm a year older than I thought I was. Yeah, I was like, great. I was like, fuck, I'm 33. But yeah, in terms of my life outside of rugby is only kind of just starting with the family and all that kind of stuff. But so in that ways, it's been really good to leave rugby, because I definitely grew in a different way, and maybe I came out at a time when it was a good chance to grow as a person. But I still miss it. I don't necessarily miss my friends and stuff exactly. I do miss playing. Like, I was a weird player. I hated training, like with lifting weights and competing in powerlifting and strongman. I fucking love training, but I find competing nice, but pretty stressful. But if they said you can never compete again and just train, I'd be like, oh, that's fine. I'll just keep lifting the gym. Whereas with rugby, oh my God, I hated training, man. I hated it. Like, it's weird because it was my job. I just didn't like it. Playing, oh my God, like, I could do that. I would rather have like 2 games a week and never train. Like, that was my dream life. But unfortunately, that's not how it works, right? But yeah, it was definitely a big what do you call it? Paradigm shift, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then it was just a big, and even now there's still, I'll be fine. Like, I'll be totally fine. But then, like, it will just catch me. Like when we were talking earlier, I'm not getting completely zoned out. I was just like, sorry to be rude, but it was just like, geez, I forget. It's still a big thing. It's still there. I remember driving a few years ago, and I was just like, I can't think of the last half an hour of driving. I was like, oh, there it is. That's dangerous. But, it's just
not dangerous at all.
Yeah, I know, man. It's just what it is. But I mean, it is what it is, And it's I was finding it tough with training as well. It feels like a therapy session today, doesn't it? But I was finding it hard with training when for example, the last year I can't deadlift anymore, if I'm honest, not consistently. That's kind of when you stop doing a certain movement. Like bodybuilders, this is where they're very clever. If they find a 45 incline degree bench press hurts their shoulders like fuck, they just won't do it. They'll do something else. Powerlifters, if my bench press hurts, I will do everything under the sun to find out a way to still bench press, and it will still hurt, but I'll still keep going, because that's what you do. So deadlifting, I love deadlift. I'm convinced if I didn't have problems, I would be up in the 350s. I know I would, because I'm obsessed with it and any way to get it better. But when I go to deadlift now, it's like someone's literally getting a knife and stabbing it in my back. And I was able to cope with it for quite a while. And then it gets to the point where you just can't. And then you deadlift once every 2 weeks, which is fine. And then you deadlift once a month. And then you do it once every 6 weeks. You're like, what's the fucking point? This is when you retire from things. This is why players retire from rugby. It's not necessarily they can't do it there and then. They'll play one game like me and then be out for 6 weeks. And then there's like, it's just not a way of doing things. So that was another shift. I was like, great. And it was the similar sort of thing. But I guess retiring from rugby prepared me for that. And it was fine. It's just a hobby. But that was another like nail in the coffin, shall we say? But at least I can still squat, which is fine for the time being. But all good fun. But anyway, I think that is enough about me, because I feel like we just talked about me all session, and we'll talk about all the wonderful things that Don is doing and all the hard work he is doing in our group training.
So the group seems to be going well anyway, which is interesting, because obviously one thing we're used to from training in gyms is the camaraderie. It's you turn up, if you train at a certain time of night in a gym, you'll know the 30 or 40 people that tend to be around. Even if you don't know them by name, you always give them nicknames. Like, there's always the stinky guy, there's the chatty guy, there's the guy the massive guy, and also you're part of the group when like the biggest guy in the gym is just like, right, big fella. That's like a rite of passage. When that happens, like you've made it. But like with home gyms, you're often training on your own, and it's one thing that I really, really miss is having training partners and stuff, and people to like share part of that process with. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of do the group training within the home gym group at first, and then open it up to kind of like other people, because obviously there's other people that can benefit from it. But I just wanted to do something that was giving back. At the end of the day, like between the three of us, we've got a wealth of knowledge, and we set that. The only reason why I put a price on it was so that people didn't come in and just completely ignore what we were saying, because there's always going to be the tire kickers that just want to come in just to see what's going on. But if you put 10-15 quid on it, it'll just stop those people kind of coming in, and then we can invest into some decent prices and stuff as well. So how have you found like the group training model? Like, so obviously you've worked with people one-to-one online before. Have you done group stuff before?
Yeah, I've done some groups before. Like I've got a friend who's a phenomenal PT down south who I did some group stuff with him, and I really enjoyed it actually. Yeah, it's great. I really like it when it's almost like, I think training at home, you can be quite isolated at times, which I find social media can be a crux, but also it can be pretty awesome if you use it the right way. And I think what I'm finding with this group is just it's infectious, the enthusiasm and the, everyone getting, I wouldn't say everyone getting on. It sounds like, mean girls. I was like, I wish we could all just bake a cake for rainbows and all get along. But like, it's meant seeing so many people training hard, trying to work things out, asking questions with each other, not just very much like, tell me what to do, but kind of like, they're bought in, but they're really cool. And, we've all got, I think I've got 10 athletes, you've got 10, I think Rachel's got 10, and we're kind of all working through that. And just some of the questions are really good, really interesting things and stuff, which is refreshing. It's great to coach someone. Like the whole reason we do this is we want to get people results. Like that's the reason we do what we do. And we want to use, stop people making the mistakes we've made and get them to get the results. And at the moment, we're only like I think we're just back in, into the second week.
End of the second week, yeah.
Yeah. So we've already had that initial, big. Some people have had big spikes of like 2 kilos down, eating more calories than they've ever eaten before without doing traditional cardio. And it's like, well, we're teaching some people some sick things here already. So it's kind of really. It's really cool to see that, and you can see the excitement of people like, this is pretty cool. So I do this and that, and people discovering tempo for the first time. Like, God, I remember doing tempo for the first time when I was like 17, and I became obsessed with Poliquin. I was like, this hurts like fuck, but I loved it. I thought it was cool. But where I liked it is you can't lift as much weight. But I almost found that refreshing that you could not worry about the weight, so you didn't have to like get too ahead of yourself. You're like, so if I just make this lightweight as much as possible, if someone says, why are you only lifting this? I'm like, well, it's all about the tempo, man. And I think the good thing about tempo work is it hangs around with you for years. And I'm serious when I say this. I don't really do that much tempo work, but if I had to, I can switch back into it straight away. But generally speaking, if you look at my lifting when it's faster, the eccentrics are normally in the same line and pretty much spot on the same form as the concentric. And I'm convinced that's to do with all the tempo work I've done. So if you ever, a good example for me would be when I deadlifted, it would always be back into the same position every single time. And that's because I've learned how to really slow down, sit into where I need to be to find position, come back up. And one of the other beauties of tempo work, why I love it for some people, is not necessarily the time and attention for the muscle building, muscle damage side of things. It's for the technical side of things. If you slow something down, you are spending more time in something that you're trying to get better at. More time equals more practice, equals more exposure, equals you getting better at it. So you become more neurologically proficient. So you'll lift more weight, and then it's easier to transfer from, if you learn how to squat really slow and come back up. When you come out of that works there. It's in the bank. It's like base work. So when you do fast work, it's already been laid. Then, if I say to you, we're going to change things up and do a ball squat, we're going to put our legs slightly close together, we're going to do this. You'll find when you go into that variation, it just feels better as well.
Yeah. It's one of those things where a lot of people, as you said, have never done tempo before. And I just find just by sticking the hand of those numbers there, it just gets them to slow it down a little bit. Like I put a post on my Instagram the other day about like the amount of guys that come to me, the first few videos that they say, every single thing that I'm saying is just slow it down. Like just feel the muscle you're trying to work. When you're going that quick, like I had one of my guys be like, why aren't we benching? I was like, because one, I looked at your video and there's no way you're getting tension on your chest there, because one, it's moving too fast. Two, your elbows flare out, so you're not keeping everything tight. I want you to move to a dumbbell because it's more unstable. You have to use less weight. We're going to put a slight incline in it, and I want you to slow it the fuck down so you can feel it in your chest. And then when you go back onto a barbell, you are going to feel it better. You're going to be able to target those muscles better. You're complaining that you've got no chest, and you're going to keep doing the exercise that you've been doing for the past 2 years that hasn't built a chest.
You've just nailed it. Like, you nailed it. Like, this is interesting because this is where people build differently. For me, benching, fuck me, my pecs get toasted for benching. Like, really get toasted. But triceps, kind of fuck all. You look at my physique, it's chest, no triceps. So, you know, for certain people, it does certain different things in the way they press. But you're so right. Like, in bodybuilding, in health, in general training, in just trying to look better, in trying to move better, I would say outside of fucking powerlifting, there's so many variations for you. You don't need to do that. There's always something else. You know, if you're a strength athlete, yes, you have to bench. Yes, you have to, well, powerlifters, yes, you have to squat. Yes, you have to deadlift. For everyone else, why? Like, why do you need to? Like, you know, I'll put my hand up and say I've stopped deadlifting. I have not had the back pain I normally get at all. Like, it's almost gone. And so I'm like, well, why do you need to do all that kind of stuff? Unless you're desperate to, then yeah, we can work around that. We can do
Well, you've
that.
got your fancy new rack attachment, so you can do your chest supported rows and stuff, haven't you?
I love that thing, by the way, mate. You've got to get one. It's so good. Like, I worked out how to really put it in well now. But yeah, oh man, I love a lat pump. I don't know about you, but like, and the gym, I think my favorite feeling of, you know, when you get the pump and you're calming is back and a chest pump. I mean, yeah, I love a leg burn as well, but I always want to throw up at that. But like, the feeling of you know,
yeah,
back
but to get a leg pump, you've got to be doing like 20 plus reps. So yeah, you've got to throw up.
You know, like that feeling of your back pump where it just kind of pulls you up. Like, I always found when I did deadlift, I got a very nice feeling in the back, and it just makes you feel large.
Yeah.
But in a good way, right? But like, kind of like up here like this, and I really enjoy the squeeze of the back. So, sorry, of the lat. So when you're doing the chest supported row, you can get a real nice stretch.
Yeah.
A real big squeeze at the top contraction, and it feels brilliant. And like, those kind of row things you only really get in a gym on a machine. And because it's not, because it just drops in and out of the rack, you can use dumbbells. So when you're doing your seal type rows, you can get a really big range of motion. And yeah, it was one of those things I bought because I was like, oh, I'm sure it's all right. And now I'm like, oh my God, I love this thing. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I very, very much recommend the mint. But yeah, you're so right on the whole. It's almost like, I guess a coach is almost like your little bit in your brain that you know you should listen to, but you don't.
Yeah.
So when you're like, oh, I'll keep doing this, it's like, why do you think that's going to change? You know, even little things like that you know you should be doing, but you don't. I'm like, what's a good one? Yeah, like me, like, I'll keep deadlifting, I'll be right. If I can wait, stop it. All right, oh, I feel better, funny that. Or, you know, I'm not feeling this kind of like, there was a good question in the group the other day. Actually, someone goes, what should I use for tricep extensions, for skull crushes? And I was like, what bar do you use? And I was like, well, loads of different bars, loads of different dumbbells, loads of different things, because you need that variation to stop certain things like tennis elbow happening. But then B, like, you need to try things, because you might find with a dumbbell compared to, say, a standard bar, you feel it a lot more. So for you, that variation is better than using a barbell. So kind of, it's funny because I've been there. Like, you got a bench, you got a squat, you got a dead, but necessarily for so many different, well, potentially for so many other reasons, they're maybe not the best things. But yeah, it's always something. I always say to my clients, if it's not working, I was like, there's always something else. There's always something else you can do.
Willow's just woken up, so I'm gonna have to dash.
Yeah, no, That was a good chat.
Well,
Yeah, sorry.
been a good. I think we've got a good
Unloading.
No,
Yeah, it's meant. Enjoyed
it was
that.
great to have a catch up with you, mate. Yeah, as I said, we could probably stay on for a little bit longer, but yeah, Willow's just woken up. So I better go and put her to bed. She was mardy with me because I didn't say goodnight to her. So I can go and take her. But yes, it's great to have a catch up with you. If the guys want to check out some more of your stuff or hear about the next group, where will they find you?
Barbers and Beans, Dan Fraser on Facebook. Barbers and Beans on Instagram, sorry. And you, buddy?
So for me, it's at Deej PT on both Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, been great to catch up with you, mate. I'm sure I'll speak to you in the next couple of days. Hopefully, we'll have that guest for next week. Fingers crossed. We'll keep you all posted. But enjoy the rest of your evening, buddy.
You take care, mate. See you soon.
No worries. Bye for now.